Awesome. I almost just fell. Yeah, so let me go ahead and we'll get right into it because I know that you're not feeling your two best right now, you said, right?
Yeah, I got tested. I had to get tested for COVID today, so that was not fun.
I hope it comes back okay, but if you need to get off at any time, just let me know, okay?
Look, I am legit fangirling over one of the girls that's coming on here tonight, so I was not gonna miss it.
Oh, really? Who is it?
Nikki, she's Real Talk Recovery on TikTok.
I've had her in the chat group and everything. That's awesome. So she is going to come on. That's great.
She's supposed to, yeah.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and jump right back into it. So, hey guys, welcome back to the Women's Recovery Podcast, where we do a live podcast weekly on Sundays at 8 p.m. I'm Olivia, and this is Choosing Recovery, and this is my girl, Tiff. What's up, Tiff?
What's up?
Woo! So what's the topic for today?
Today's topic is Narcan education, relapse prevention, and all of that ties into the fact that it is Overdose Awareness Month.
Yeah. Great. So yeah, the whole topic should just be the Overdose Awareness Month. That would be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, let me pop it up to see if I can get if they come on. So I'll be able to see them. There we go.
The clothes that I had to donate 2 years ago. Coming home from vacation and living out your suitcase.
Oh, is that you? I thought that was me.
Yes, that was me. I was trying to get on here so I could message her to see if she was getting on for sure or not.
Yeah,
because
she was on our text messages too.
Well, and she made a post on the Facebook group too.
Okay, perfect. Is that better? Alright, yeah, so let's go ahead and jump right into it. Relapse prevention. Overdose Awareness Month. I think even just recognizing Overdose Awareness Month is incredible, and I wish more people were of knowledge. I actually was thinking about doing, Tip, we should break down what drug overdose looks like in the body, and like what it can do to you, right? Like what effects of what effects of what drugs can do to because I never knew that when you use heroin that it's a respiratory fail. You know, heroin stops your breathing.
Benzos, any type of benzodiazepine, and when I overdosed, I had taken Xanax like early that morning, and then did not even a tenth of heroin on like around lunchtime, and it sent me into respiratory failure, 100%.
And see, that's crazy because even when I got into like recovery, I didn't know what a overdose looked like or how the drugs actually affect your body, right, in the different ways. So I think it would actually be very important, especially this month, for us to maybe break down each drug and at least how it can affect the body and what an overdose may look like with those things, you know, because I think just being educated on these things is very important.
I completely agree, but also like whenever I was in addiction, I was working in doctor's offices. Like I have a lot of medical background, and I mean I was in nursing school at one point. So like it's hard. I think it's harder when you actually do have the education sometimes, because like I knew better. I knew what it could do in my body. You know what I'm saying? But like it was that, you know, Superman mentality of, oh, well, I know this can happen, but it can't happen to me because I know what I'm doing. I've got it all handled.
Absolutely.
And a lot of the time, that's how relapse happens too. When you're in recovery, I've got it all handled. It's not gonna happen to me. Like it all correlates together whether you're in active addiction or you're in recovery. I think it just because our brains are wired that way. That's why
Absolutely.
we constantly have to keep ourselves in check.
And I've wanted to make such a good point on TikTok, and I've really been debating on making the video, but like with relapse and relapse prevention, like I just feel like, like it hurts my heart. Like I want people to know that like you didn't fail. You know, like
No,
relapsing
you
isn't
didn't
a big
fail.
deal. Like, you know what I mean? And people are like, oh well,
Yeah.
I relapsed. Like I walked away from my recovery. No, you didn't. And I'm so
Well,
like, you know what I mean? Like I don't.
there's a stigma around it though. Like, you know, the shame that you feel when you finally get caught up with, or like in my case, where nobody really knew I was using, and then everybody found out all at one time when I overdosed. So, like, for me, it was, you know, I hadn't relapsed, and I don't know, sometimes it makes me feel kind of like a unicorn. It's weird. But just because I haven't doesn't mean that I'm immune to a relapse.
That's exactly how I feel. Like I've never relapsed in my entire recovery.
I, from personal experience,
First
I know how
time
it
and
is.
everything.
I know how it is to want to quit and to really want it really, really bad and to not be able to put it down. But I don't know how it feels to be in recovery and to have all of that time feel like you just flushed it down the toilet.
But that's the thing. Like I feel like when I was like what 2.5 years sober, like it just happened like out of the blue nowhere. I wanted to drink a bottle of wine. I wanted to go out and have a very nice pasta dinner, and I wanted a glass of wine. And I was like, you know, and for a second,
I could probably have one.
right? And I was like, no, and I literally like I had a straight up conversation with myself, and I was like, you know, you can't. You know, and I was like, I just don't see how wine could hurt me. You know, like, I fucking shot heroin. I was a junkie living on the street. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but then I had to think back, play the tape through. Like, I was raised in an alcoholic home. It's a normal thing, too. You know, and, like, so I never relapsed, but it doesn't mean that, like, it's such a natural habit for, like, especially when you know that you feel threatened or you feel uncomfortable, your brain snaps back to a natural atmosphere that it's comfortable in. Like, it's just a normal thing for it to do. So you mean to tell me if you've been using for 12, 15 years of your life, and you've been clean for what, 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, and you end up relapsing, get yourself back up and you come back in like the fucking champion you are, and you own your shit, and you deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so sick of people, like, looking down on themselves like, oh, I relapsed, I failed me. You did fail nothing! Like, we literally, like, we look at these people like we're we're looked down upon, right? Like, we made a choice, and it's just, like, it's whatever. Like,
I can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
I can't now, no. Wait a minute.
Is it me?
Oh,
no!
It's me. It's all good.
Oh my gosh! Well, yeah, I was just saying, like, I feel like if somebody ends up slipping up or they relapse and they've been working so hard on themselves and they still pursue to work hard on themselves, I don't think they need to look at themselves any different. They need to pick themselves back up and handle their shit as, like, a boss person would do, though. Like, we need to love each other. We need to support each other. And it's such a normal thing to go back to a comfortable feeling or the way your brain was wired, right? So we're connected to the dopamine and the reward system and all that. Like, your body knows what it's doing when it's craving these things, or if it snaps back to, like, come on, people do it for so many years and then they're like, well, I was clean for this, like, 1.5 years, 2 years, and I slipped, and it's like, girl, what? You know, like, be proud of yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you did that for so long.
Yeah, they scare me to death because I'm like in the rooms and hearing these old timers that have 20 and 30 years and them say, hey, yeah, when I had 20 years, I thought I had it all together, and
it's just that one time.
The thing about
you know?
Is, you know, bouncing back from a relapse like that seems to me like it would be a lot easier said than done. Because when we did this the first time, you know, like,
no, I
we were the hardest person to forgive. And a relapse is on nobody but you. You know what I'm saying? You can't, I mean, unless somebody drove
you literally can't blame anyone. Yeah.
Like, you have to walk a fine line of accepting responsibility, but not beating yourself into the dirt about it.
But right, and that's the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, the thing that was so easy. Like, I still use my sobriety. It's easier to stay sober than to get sober again. And what did I hear somebody say? Like, I don't have another recovery in me. Like, me as an addict.
Another relapse. Yeah.
Like, I have a relapse in me all day, every day. You know what I mean? But, like, another recovery, I don't think that's something for me to actually... Like, it's nothing that I'm gonna be real, like, I never wanted recovery. I didn't go out of my way looking for recovery. I got to a point of my life where I was literally forced into a place long enough by myself, and I had all of these charges against me. You know what I mean? And that's when I started looking at myself and seeing the way that my life truly was at that time. But I don't know, like, and along with, like, relapse prevention and overdose awareness month, it just... You know, I think the last, couple months, Scott has lost many good friends over them relapsing. And they had some of them had years clean, some of them had a couple months. It doesn't matter how much time you have. But they ended up passing away. So we've dealt with a lot of overdoses in the last... I want to say 6 months, but it was like it seemed right back to back. It actually was in like a 2-month period that this all happened.
Was it in 2020 or 2021? Was it this year?
It was the beginning of this year. We lost 3 of his friends. 3.
And see, there's so much of a correlation between, you know, the pandemic.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And relapse, because, you know, they took away our fellowship for a good little minute, you know. And to put it in perspective, I did a little bit of research before.
Good. Yeah.
And okay, to put it in perspective, in 2020, there was a 30% rise in opiate-related overdose deaths. 30% more people died in 2020 of an opiate-related death than they have any time before that.
Yeah.
In 2020,
oh my gosh.
More than I wasn't able to find the exact number, but it says more than 93,000 people.
Yeah, because 21's not done with. Yeah.
In 2020. Okay, to put that in perspective, you know, I told you I don't live in a very big city. Like, it's not huge, but it's not like one red light either.
Right.
We have our population for the census from 2018 for Gadsden, which is like, I live in a suburb of Gadsden, so Gadsden is the bigger city where I live. 35,157 people. That would be like if my whole town disappeared times 3 just last year. And
holy
that
shit.
really put stuff in perspective for me, because you hear about it all the time. And it's unnecessary. It doesn't have to happen, and it's not people's fault that they're not educated, and I really feel like that's what we're here to do. Like, that's 3 of my cities.
That's crazy.
Like, just imagine if it just was a ghost town.
Yeah.
Times 3. That's crazy to me. But, you know, with relapse prevention, it doesn't start, like, if your drug of choice was heroin, most of the time, if you're not putting yourself in places where you're around it, heroin's not just going to be something that's going to be in your face all the time unless you're not in the right kind of environment.
Right.
Not to say you couldn't just walk up on it somewhere, because it's possible.
Easily.
So
absolutely.
You know, whatever. But at the same time, relapse doesn't start there.
Right.
It started way back before you had that drug in front of your face.
Yeah.
That's why keeping yourself in tune with your mind, with your spiritual, you know.
Well, that's the thing, like, what, you
your spiritual
relapse.
sense. Like, you have to constantly do inventory, because if not, and you know, like, most of the time, we're addicts. We want to do everything way more than we're supposed to. It can be sex, it can be watching TV, it can be neglecting your family and doing, you know, it can be a hobby that you love that you're replacing, but you're using those same addict behaviors, and then eventually you're already going to be weakened enough within your recovery that when that's put in front of you, you're like, I'm sure I can handle it this time. Well, how did that work out for you when you did it last time? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying.
If it doesn't work this time, don't do the same thing. Try something new.
So the opposite of insanity. Okay.
No, because I think, but that's what I think. A lot of, like, for how long that I've been in recovery, I've seen many people go out and use again and come back, you know, and I don't know, like, I'm all for it, and I think I'm always going to stand my ground with this, but if the program doesn't work for you or whatever it may look like, I don't give a flying fuck what your recovery looks like. Like, I just want people to know, like, you know you better than anyone else knows you. You know what I mean? So, like,
Yes.
nobody can look at you and tell you to do this. Like, this is what you need to do to get it right. Nobody's gonna know. Like,
program, and if you don't do this program, then you're not in recovery. That is something that is a problem within the recovery community itself, because we become.
that's
so
a great
soft
topic
and
to
high
have, because I think there's a lot in the recovery community that I think that hasn't worked, right? Like, do something different. I just, you know, it works. I know it works for me. I know what got me sober, and I can always share that. I can always share on that because that's my story and that's how I'm sober
Right.
today. But I just feel like so many people get so caught up in, I don't know, I'm just going to say it, they get caught up in the literature. They just do. And I'm not
to the point
saying,
where it becomes cultish.
and that's the thing, you know, like, and I don't want to,
Or click or whatever. Like, if you're not in our group, you can't put it that.
like,
You know
for
what I'm saying?
me,
Like,
and that's what I needed in my life. I needed to follow somebody. It was good that I had a sponsor at that time in my life. I grew as a person. You know what I mean? Like, you grow
well,
with yourself and you
learn.
learn.
To hold you accountable for the first time too.
Right. Oh, she was a riot. She still is. She's still, oh, God bless her heart. I love you, Mary. If you're watching. Probably not, but. But yeah,
like, the thing about it is, though, is, I mean, there are a percentage of people that overdose on purpose. You know, there is that percentage. But for the most part, people don't do it on purpose. You never
but
go,
that's the
most
thing.
Of the time you don't go into it thinking that, because my husband tried to kill himself with an overdose, and it didn't work.
But I think it,
And
like,
he's very
surprises
upset.
people. Like, I didn't just wake up one morning and say, hey, I want to be addicted to not only alcohol, but heroin and crack cocaine. Do you think I would have ever woken up and ever made a decision like that in my childhood life? Like, we are the people, like, you know what you said, how we don't look like, we wouldn't look like we would ever be addicted. It doesn't, you don't have a look, you know, kind of like you don't have a certain way to
That
recover,
is
but...
like the one phrase in the world that makes my eyes immediately twitch. You don't look like a drug addict. Well, please tell me what a drug addict
So,
looks
like,
like.
I was,
It
yeah, I
infuriates
just,
me.
it drives me nuts, too. I actually, it, like, blows my mind that
What?
people...
You have your teeth.
But
I
it's
don't
like-
understand. What? You don't look like. I'm like, what? Man, look.
I know, like, I just feel like people are so uneducated when it comes to that, but you made a great...
And that's not their fault either.
No. But that's
You
why,
know?
I think that's why this is, like, our duty is to be able to bring education to everybody beside the person that struggles with addiction. Like, have you noticed
Because
when
why
I...
would you be educated in it if you haven't had anybody like that in your life, or you haven't dealt with it yourself? What
Right.
reason would you
Or
have to
even
be
if you do,
educated?
because I feel like my father, he struggled so badly to try and understand what addiction was. He was so sad to watch me in that state. He was so sad to not be able to help me. But, like, he said it to me. He's like, I wish I had this when you were out there. He's like, because I would have watched you and hung on to your hope. I would have clung to your words, and I would have been able to understand it differently. Because, like, this is breaking down what, like, addiction is. And I feel like so many people, like, overlook it. It's such a mental disorder. It's
It
so
really is.
beyond the physical. Like, the physical
And
is
it's beyond the
nothing.
substance.
If you
People
think
get
the
lost in
physical
the
is hard, yeah, you have
Yeah.
no idea. So, like, I don't know, I think it's good to get that out there, but I think mental health is such a huge part of, just a part of addiction, especially relapse prevention, is to be okay with who you are, is to look deeper than just the surface stuff. Like, I feel like before recovery, I spent my whole life saying, oh, I'm happy right now, right? Like, you would see the surface like, wow, I'm happy, this is good. Or I'd see the surface like, oh, I'm sad, or I'm disappointed, or I'm mad, right? And you just be mad.
Yeah.
I never asked myself why. Like, I never got deeper into feeling my feelings. But I'm telling you, like, in my recovery, I've been able to break down and understanding my emotions. I've learned to love who I am. Because that's seeing myself as such a pure form, is to understand why I'm feeling that way. You know, like, I don't know.
If you don't love yourself, you're not going to respect yourself. And if you don't respect yourself, you'll end up slipping back into old habits. Sometimes not even on purpose.
Yeah.
But you know, what you were talking about your dad, like when mine and Chris's recovery and even the events that led up to both of us being in recovery were so different, my parents had no idea that I was even using because I isolated myself from them. And I guess that was subconsciously to like protect them, you know, from it. And because we were both using together, we were living in our own little bubble.
Yeah.
But when I got sober, I was loud about it from the beginning because I'm just a loud person. But other than that, like, you know, if I had somebody telling me the things that I'm telling other people right now, would I have ended up that way? If I had known all this stuff in the beginning, possibly I could have, you know. But when Chris was in his active addiction, and it got way worse before it got better, there were no resources for his mom, for his dad. Like his mom was able to cope with it better because of me educating her and her being open to being educated about it, because that's a big thing too.
Bingo.
But there's no she found a couple of support groups on Facebook, but like there's nothing like this. Like I think that it might even be a good idea too to get some parents of addicts in here.
Well, that's what the family series is for, is to get them on. So if you or anybody watching this knows anybody that wants to share on their story, we don't bring family members on to bash anyone, to upset anybody. So if it were to harm the other person, speaking on your own experience, that's something we don't advise. We do want, it's not about the other person. So I think a lot of people get confused with that with the family series, is they want to speak on the one that struggles with addiction. It has nothing to do with them. So yeah, it's really based on your own experience and how you've overcome maybe some situations with that person. But yeah, so I think it's a huge thing.
Or you know what you did to help them, because there are so many parents that enable an addict,
and they don't know how to help them though.
They don't even realize that they're doing it.
I remember I went to
my baby be on the street. I can't let my baby not have any money. I can't let my baby do this. Well, sometimes, and it's not the same case for everybody. Tough love doesn't work on everyone.
It doesn't. It can kill people, and that's the thing. Like,
for it to be an option,
and that's why like having like a recovery is so individualized, is because one person, I needed tough love, I needed hard love. Everything that happened to me, I needed.
Yeah.
I didn't want. I needed it, but I feel like if somebody else that maybe faced different like, you know, that's why we're all different. We all had different events occur to us. We all lived through different moments that, you know, maybe we didn't want to. And I think that, I don't know. I just think I forgot where I was going with that. What else? But I know, it happens all the time. I have brain fog, you know, mentally unstable majority of the time.
Are we not all that way though, for real?
You know, so this is what you get with the live podcast.
Yeah. Oh, also though, you know, a few podcasts ago, we were talking about how we don't have access to Narcan a lot where I live.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, I don't either though, and I'm in New York.
There's a website, and it's called nextdistro.org.
Okay, can you text that to me after?
I will, yeah.
Okay.
But it has it set up where you search by your state, and then it breaks it down into counties, and it shows you your options that are available. Like I found some stuff out of Birmingham, which is about an hour away from me, but it's free.
Right.
So you know, that's an issue that we run into here for overdose. Our cops don't even carry narcotics anymore.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's not even appropriate. And I just I actually, when we first started this YouTube channel, I think it would actually be something me and Scott are still interested in, but we want to go to the police department around here, and we actually want to see if the cops will come on and share some experience and things that they've dealt with and what they've kind of
I
seen.
have some that can, for sure.
But yes, because that's what I think is another problem, like in the addiction community, and I don't want to like call it that. I don't know if that's inappropriate, but with people that are struggling with addiction, you know, they are so against cops, and you know, and I'm not saying all cops are good. I'm literally not saying that.
And
But what I'm
all
saying
bad.
is, but they face a lot of stuff too, and they are only doing their job, trying to protect
Right.
other citizens and themselves. So I think it would be good to break that barrier between, you know, like there's good doctors, bad doctors. There's good nurses, bad nurses. Like everybody, all professions are gonna have good, bad people, unfortunately. You know, but that's where I think we need to like brighten the light between, you know, the police force and the people that are struggling with addiction. And that's why I think like we all need to come together. Imagine a police officer walking up to you and not arresting you, not yelling at you, not telling you to freeze or mace you or anything crazy. Like, imagine a police officer walking up to you and just saying, hey, how are you today? Do you need something to eat? Should I bring you to a program?
Yeah.
What? Like, why can't that be done? We're just looking at people like they're garbage on the side of the road. We're not even trying to help them. We're telling them.
That was fear when I went to detox.
Yeah.
Because at the time when I went, everybody had just found out about me. Everybody was astounded.
Exactly.
I was president of Students Against Destructive Decisions in high school. I was not your typical drug addict. Like, I never got in trouble. I never. I never even smoked a cigarette until I was like 22.
Yeah.
Like, and it just all spiraled at one time. But that was my biggest fear, and the first person that I met when I went into detox ended up being my sponsor later on.
That's awesome.
He was the first person that I met that didn't look at me like I was absolute trash.
So if
and
you
he treat me like trash.
But that's the thing. We need that, you know? So if you do know anybody that wants to get on and just, if they have anything to share about addiction, whether it be a therapist, a group counselor, I don't care, like a police officer, anybody you know that may have some kind of insight of being in the moment, you know, because I think that's good to spread the awareness. Like we were talking about how the drugs affect the body. And like I think we should actually break that down and make those a couple of videos. I think that's a great idea.
I'm about it, for sure.
But I'm kind of not feeling too well right now. My belly's just upset. So I'm going to jump off for the night. But
Okay.
I'm going to text you and we're going to get some more stuff set up. I appreciate your help so far,
Sounds
Tiff.
great. Yes.
Yay. Okay, thank
Yay.
you so much tonight, Tiff.
You're welcome.
I'll text you in the morning, okay?
Okay. Bye.
Alright, bye-bye.